Buying a car is one of the biggest financial decisions that you can make during your life. Other than where you decide to live, it is probably going to be one of the biggest payments in your budget, especially when you factor in insurance and gas cost. The problem with the car is that it is a depreciating asset. So once you drive it off the car lot, it begins to lose a tremendous amount of value. So how do you decide whether you should buy or lease a car? And in today's video, that is what we are going to discuss. The pros and cons of both options. Unless you come from a rich family where they can literally just give you a car for free, this is one of the biggest decisions that you're going to have to make in your life. And I want to help you guys make an educated decision on this because this channel is focused on people who only make $15 to $25 an hour, not people who can get cars for free. So in today's video, we're going to discuss the pros and cons of buying and leasing a car so you can make the best educated decision for yourself. But first, we need to consider the 5 factors that go into buying decisions and whether you should or should not buy or lease a car. So the first factor we have to consider is your lifestyle. So do you need a car to just get you from point A to point B, let's say just to get you to work? Or are you looking for your forever car? This is a very important decision determining whether you should buy or lease a car. The second biggest factor that you have to consider is your budget. How much car can you afford at the current moment? Can you buy a car in cash full, or do you have to finance a car? So that is something else to consider. The third thing that you have to consider is insurance. There are many factors that play a role in insurance. So depending on your age, they might charge you a little bit more if you're a younger driver because you don't have as much experience. Another factor could be whether you live in a high cost area or whether you live in a low cost area. That can also play a factor. Another thing you have to consider is the model and make of your car. Depending on what type of car you have, they might be charging you more insurance, especially if it's a newer model compared to an older model. They might charge you less insurance because they understand that there is a risk factor for more maintenance and repair issues. And then the last thing you have to consider is your accident history. Whether you've been in an accident recently or you have a clean driving record, all influence is your insurance costs. So the fourth factor you have to consider is maintenance and repair costs. And whether you buy an older car, this might be more of an issue for you. If you have a newer car, this might not be as much of an issue for you to consider when you're deciding whether you want to buy or lease a car. And the last thing that you have to factor in is your negotiating ability. So for me personally, I have great negotiating ability. I work in sales. So I was able to negotiate my car payment from $320 all the way down to $259. And a lot of people may not have this ability, but that's something to consider. Even if you don't have it, you can bring somebody along that has better negotiating skills with you so you can lower the price and overall lower the amount of car that you have to pay for in your budget. So those are the 5 main factors that you have to consider before deciding whether you want to lease and buy a car. And if you have the okay, you're good to go acquire a car, then now we can look at the pros and cons of leasing and buying, and that's what we're going to jump into right now. So first, we are going to discuss leasing as an option, and there are many pros that come along with leasing. I've done this before, and the benefit is that you have smaller payments because the term is so short that they won't charge you as much because of the amount of loan that you need. So the payments are usually lower, and that's a huge benefit. Also, you have gap insurance, and gap insurance basically just covers anything that your regular insurance doesn't cover. So it gives you peace of mind because even if you get like a little scratch on your car or you bump into a wall, you really don't have to worry about it because you understand that the car company is going to cover that because they are going to acquire the car back and they want it back in the best possible shape as they can. Also, another benefit is that you get a new car every 3 years, and this is more of like a status thing. Driving a new car gives you a bit more of a confidence boost. You can brag to your friends a little bit about it, and you can have the ability to do that every 3 years. And plus, it's a short-term commitment. So let's say you really want to buy a car, you want to become a car owner in the future, but you don't have the money right now. You can lease a car so you can get to where you need to go, and 3 years from now when you saved up enough to buy a car, then you have the option to go buy it and give it back to the car company. But with all the pros, there are many cons that come along with Leasing. So one of the biggest cons is the miles restriction. So when it comes to the amount of miles that you can drive, usually I set it at a specific amount. So 12,000 is usually the average amount when you lease, and that's per year. And a lot of us, if you plan to drive often, might not be beneficial for you to do this because they will charge you extra money for every mile you go over that specific amount. Then the next thing we have to focus on is what I like to call a retainer fee. So when you lease a car, when you give it back, if you don't renew a lease with them or buy another car, they will charge you what I call a retainer fee. And that's a very high payment, usually $495 just to restock the car in their inventory. And the last thing is that you have less negotiating power because it's a very straightforward loan. When you're leasing, it's 3 years and you can play with the down payment, but there's not much wiggle room when it comes to negotiations. So that is the pros and cons of leasing. And now let's look at the pros and cons of buying a car, because there is a lot of pros to buying a car too as well. And one of the biggest pros is that you are a car owner. You have equity in the car, even though it is a depreciating asset. It gives you peace of mind knowing that this is yours and you do not have to give it back. And plus, also, once you pay it off, there are no payments after that. Whereas a lease, that is one of the cons too, as well, is that you keep having to pay every time you lease. So with the ownership, once you're done paying off the car, you're good. You don't have to do any more payments. And again, you have better negotiating power. So if you have enough cash saved up to buy a car in cash, you can literally negotiate it, the price of the car in half, because all the car companies want is their money. And if you are able to give them their money up front, they will be willing to negotiate a better price with you. And then some of the cons of buying a car is if you buy it old, there is a lot of maintenance issues. And I know for some of the younger audience, when you're just starting out, usually this is what most of you guys do. You don't have great credit scores, so you cannot acquire a loan to get a car. So some of you might have to go to those car dealerships on the corners and get cars for a couple $1,000s just to get by. But there is a lot of maintenance issues that come along with that, a lot of troubles. I even have one of my coworkers has some trouble with his car, and it was an older model. But those are some of the things that you have to consider. And also there are longer payments if you decide to finance a car if you don't have enough money to pay for it in cash. So you have to finance and financing gives you higher payments, higher interest costs. So those are some of the things you have to consider. So now that we have the big picture here, we understand the 5 factors that go into buying a car, and we have the pros and cons of leasing and buying. Hopefully you guys can make a more educated decision on such a big purchase. This eats up so much money in people's budgets, and if you just put a little bit of time to think about how you buy your car, it can save you a lot of money, and you can allocate more money to other things in your life, including improving your skill set, 10xing your income, and things of that nature. So that's all I've got for you guys today. If you like this video, I have other videos that show you how to pay off debt, how to increase your income, so you can make more better buying decisions in the future. So if you like this video, hopefully you guys can watch my other videos and get some great ideas from that. And this is all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll have more videos like this in the future. Thank you.